From the Boston Sheraton Hotel, the Jimmy Fund Advisory Council, in conjunction with TV-38, presents A Salute to Bobby Orr, with special guest appearances by Johnny Bucyk, Wayne Cashman, Gerry Cheevers, and Dick Flavin, as well as a gang of wild surprises. Your MC and host for tonight's telecast, Ken the Hawk Harrelson. This special presentation is brought to you by Anheuser-Busch, makers of Busch Beer, and by E.F. Hutton. When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. Both Anheuser-Busch and E.F. Hutton have graciously offered their commercial time so that we may bring you this special telecast uninterrupted, except for this public appeal.
Hi, I'm Bobby Orr. I'd like you to meet Colleen and Michael. They're patients of the Dana Farber Cancer Institute's Jimmy Fund Clinic in Boston. The Jimmy Fund began 32 years ago when thousands of people joined together to help a sick boy and other youngsters like him by supporting cancer research and the care of children with cancer. Thanks to that support, the Dana Farber Cancer Institute has become a leading comprehensive cancer center, searching for answers and caring for people, adults as well as children, and always with your help. Yes, we scored a lot of goals for kids like Colleen and Michael, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Your gift to the Farber Institute's Jimmy Fund will be used for cancer research and the care of children with cancer. Won't you please help? Let's keep working together to beat cancer in our lifetime. Please send your tax-deductible contributions to the Jimmy Fund, Post Office Box 700, Boston 02215. That's the Jimmy Fund, Post Office Box 700, Boston 02215. Thank you so much.
Distinguished head table guests, ladies and gentlemen, it is an honor and a privilege for me to be with you tonight for the special event. We are gathered here to pay tribute to two of Boston's most loved and respected institutions. It may be argued that the first of these is not an institution, that he's a man. But if you think for a moment about what he has done, about what he means to Boston, about the legend that surrounds him, I think you'll agree. Bobby Orr is an institution in the finest sense of the word. You know, in my career, I was a professional athlete when I was 17 years old. In the last 20 years, there have been two people that I have admired and respected tremendously. And the reason being that these two people dominated their respective sport more than any two that I have ever seen. The first, for about 8 or 9 years, the man who set all records for major championships in golf, Mr. Jack Nicklaus. And the second, in hockey, Bobby Orr. The other institution we enter tonight has a special place in our hearts for another reason, the Jimmy Fund. The Jimmy Fund has been leading the way in the fight against cancer in children since it was founded over 30 years ago. The dedicated men and women who have been carrying on the work for the Jimmy Fund for all those years are heroes in their own right, and we salute them tonight as well. I want to extend special thanks to the Jimmy Fund Advisory Council for making this evening possible. And we have a fine program lined up for you. This is the third annual Jimmy Fund Extravaganza. And what we're going to try to do tonight is remember the Ralph Edwards, This Is Your Life. It was a good program. Well, in our own way, we're going to try to go back and present some of Bobby's past and life to you. Ladies and gentlemen, the Speaker of the House of Representatives of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, the Honorable Thomas W. McGee.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Hawk. Bobby, distinguished guests. I didn't prepare any speech because with all the heavy hitters that are here, I just probably don't know what to say because, truthfully, Bobby Orr is not only the greatest hockey player that ever lived, but he's probably one of the finest persons that I ever met in my life. And I suppose that really the only thing I can say, and I looked back and remember the first time I met him, and he wouldn't remember it, but it's kind of to travel back memory lane. I met him, and I didn't know who the hell he was, and I was at the 46 Beacon Street across. They used to have a piano bar, and a young kid from Nahan introduced me to him, and that was the first time I met Bobby, and like everybody in Massachusetts came to love him and adore him. And the only thing I can say is, number one, it's just great to have him back here in Massachusetts where he belongs. He doesn't belong anywhere except here. And Hawk said it all when he said that we pay tribute really to two institutions tonight, and the Jimmy Fund. And Bobby has done so much for people, and not just the Jimmy Fund, but for individual people. And really, when you sit down and analyze it, this is what our country is all about. On behalf of the 5.5 million people of Massachusetts, Bobby, I say we love you. We're glad to have you back, and you better never leave us. Thank you very, very much.
Biggest, phoniest 14 handicap I ever saw. Now we're going to get into our This Is Your Life Bobby Orr segment. Our first guest is a fellow who played for the Bruins in their heyday and literally fought his way into many of our hearts. Tremendous friend of Bobby's. And now let's watch the advent screens as you see him come up.
Bobby, remember your 18th birthday when the team threw you the surprise party? Remember the broken promises that you made in the bathroom? I will never drink again. I will never drink again. Or how about the fights I promoted for you, when I, being the good guy that I am, always watched from a ringside seat? I mean the penalty box. Bobby, you're number 4 on the ice, but you are number 1 in our hearts.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Johnny Pie McKenzie. Well, we've got another guest speaker coming up. But before he comes up to speak to you, there's no introduction needed for the Bruins fans, for this gentleman either.
Controls in the Boston zone as Nestor couldn't. Bobby Orr legs it back up through center ice. Cuts deep. Goes behind the net. To Esposito. Shot. Goal! Bucyk scores the second of the night. It's 4-2. Over the line. Oh, he's hauled down by Barrett. In for Bucyk. Score! What a play by Bucyk and Bobby Orr, who's flat on the ice.
I've got to see this one again to believe it. Now, you just watch Orr here and Bucyk combine for this goal. Orr is down on the ice. Now, watch this play here. There's the puck. Now, here it comes. And there's Bucyk cutting in from the left wing, doing what he did just a moment ago.
Ladies and gentlemen, the captain of the Boston Bruins, the Chief, John Bucyk.
Thanks, Ken. Monsignor, head table guests, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is a thrill for me to be here tonight, because Bobby is probably one of the reasons that I have been here for, how long? 24 years, 25 years. I think I can remember Bobby back in 1966, I believe, in September, when I first checked into the Holiday Inn in London, Ontario, and walked into my room, and there was Bobby, and he said, "Hello, Mr. Bucyk." 4 days later, well, I can't repeat what he called me then, but Bobby's never really changed, believe me. I had a speech all prepared, until Father Kerr come over and remind me that Bobby Orr was a football player. The reason that you see so much of Bobby, and a lot of people are wondering why is Bobby in town so much, well, he's coming back to New England. I'm not supposed to say this, but I'm going to. The big reason is, Bobby's here. He's trying to buy all the Howard Johnson restaurants. Can you just think of Quebec, you know, coming into town to play us, and all of a sudden they come home after a rough game here in Edmonton. Young Frenchman goes home and he says, "Boy, what a tough game we have." The wife says, "Well, it was pretty rough, but where did you stay?" "Oh, we stay in that new hotel called the Whorehouse." Bobby, we'd love to call it the Orr House, but Bobby does belong back here in New England. We love to see you, Bobby. I'm in trouble. Thank you very much. It's for a great cause, and let's have a great evening.
Well, Joe Domino, there's your first blip of the night. Talking about blips, have you ever watched Ask the Manager? Joe was very disappointed tonight when we weren't going to run any shots of footage of that on the advent screens. Talking about some of the other people up here at the head table. Terry O'Reilly, the Tasmanian Devil. Living proof that aggressiveness can compensate for lack of skill. Coming up to the head table tonight from the stairs up top, knocked over 3 guys. Also told Joe if they gave him double rudders to skate on instead of single, they would be having a night for him tonight instead of Bobby. We've got another guest speaker at this time. I remember this fella when I first got to the Red Sox in 1967. At that time he was a little timid, a little shy. All of a sudden he found out that left hand of his could become a lethal weapon, and he used it. Skated his way into the hearts, and for a while was a symbol of the fighting Boston Bruins. Let's roll the cartridge.
Orr cut through. Cashman, a backhand. No! It's 25 to go in tonight's game. Dallas Smith taps it into Orr. He's controlling, cuts down the slot to Esposito. Back in front. Score! Cashman! It's 4-1 Bruins. Cashman has scored his second goal in as many nights.
Checking, or rather Don Ari took him out of the play, and Vadnais works it out for Esposito to Hodge. They break. Hodge for Esposito. He's in. Cashman score! What a picture goal!
The present captain of the Boston Bruins, Wayne Cashman.
Head table guests, ladies and gentlemen, I was very fortunate in my career that I met Bobby a few years before a lot of the people here did. I met Bobby as a 14-year-old boy going to high school, playing junior hockey in Canada. It was when Bobby first signed with the Bruins, and he was about 5'1" or 5'2" and weighed about 127 pounds, I believe. And we used to play the Toronto Marlboros, where their average weight was 190 pounds. And it was quite surprising to see this little guy go in the corner, come out with a puck. And by the end of the year, the jokes around the league were, would you ask the kid if we could have it for a while? Chief tells the story about when Bobby first come to training camp that they put him with him as a roommate. Well, a lot of people don't know that Chief has another nickname. It's the Buddha. And Bobby was the only guy that would fit in the room with him. And Chief didn't have to worry about him taking any of his shaving cream, so he didn't mind him. When I first met Bobby Orr, we read the stories about Nasha as we went on. Bobby Orr then was a dream to the people of Boston. He was the person that was going to come, make the hockey team win, turn it around. He did. He came, he became a star, became an all-star. He became a legend, and now he's in the Hall of Fame. And he's back here again doing what he does best, helping people. And I just want to say, Bobby Orr, thank you.
The Jimmy Fund began 32 years ago when thousands of people joined together to help a sick boy and other youngsters like him by supporting cancer research and the care of children with cancer. Hi, I'm Bobby Orr. I'd like you to meet Colleen and Michael. They're patients of the Dana Farber Cancer Institute's Jimmy Fund Clinic in Boston. Over the years, the Dana Farber Cancer Institute has become a leading comprehensive cancer center, searching for answers and caring for people, adults as well as children, and always with your help. Yes, we've scored a lot of goals for kids like Colleen and Michael, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Your gift to the Farber Institute's Jimmy Fund will be used for cancer research and the care of children with cancer. Won't you please help? Let's keep working together to beat cancer in our lifetime. Please send your tax-deductible contributions to the Jimmy Fund, Post Office Box 700, Boston 02215. That's the Jimmy Fund, Post Office Box 700, Boston 02215. Thanks so much.
Just looking around the head table once again, another fellow that Bobby has helped tremendously. Rick Smith. Played with Bobby in the glory days. Then tried his hand with the California Golden Seals, Minnesota North Stars, St. Louis Blues, and just couldn't hack it. Back to Boston, hopes like hell that Bobby will come back to help him. Our next surprise guest on the cartridge is not here tonight. But all you have to do is just watch it, and it'll bring back a lot of memories. Roll the cartridge, please.
Hi, Robert. This is the Whopper Westbrook. I still think it was you who cut my socks in Pittsburgh. Seriously, Robert, I'm sorry I couldn't be there to salute you tonight, but I have a game tonight. After all, some of us still have to play for a living, you know, and I wish you were. I would like to congratulate you on scoring another big goal, though. This time for the Jimmy Fund. Good luck, Robert, and whatever you do. See you soon.
Ladies and gentlemen, number 7 for the Boston Bruins, Phil Esposito. Tonight we had intended to give out hockey pucks to every one of you. But with Don Marquardt around, he hogged them all. He got every one. We've got another curtain caller for you tonight. This fella is probably one of the most respected and best-liked athletes that I have ever seen or heard of here in the city of Boston. And while we're talking about the city of Boston, I think the Jimmy Fund has helped to bring the athletes, the Patriots, the Celtics, the Bruins, and the Red Sox together more cohesively than certainly any other city I have ever seen. We have all had a great rapport together, and believe me, as opposed to some other cities, it's a tremendous thing for the community. This next fellow was one of the leaders of that contingent. No introductions necessary again. Please roll the cartridge.
I'd like to take you back in time to when I first met you. You were a shy and reserved young man with a dream to fulfill. Remember the times you skated through my club, the Point After? And then I kicked a few at your club, the Branding Iron. We both learned a few points about that business. Bobby, you've scored many points on the ice. And tonight, this could be one of the biggest points you've scored off the ice. Congratulations and salute.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Duke, Gino Cappelletti. Again, looking around the head table. Before we do, he's going to be a speaker. And before he comes up to laud Bobby, I want to show you a tape of this fellow. He's done an awful lot of good work in more ways than one for the city of Boston. Roll the cartridge, please.
A bad hop off the corner again. That's three that have not helped the Bruins at all. And here is Bobby Hull with it for a shot and a save by Cheevers. Breaking all alone, Dennis Hull. Here he comes. Cheevers hit him and broke him up.
Bobby Hull gets by Westfall. Pass goes to Dennis Hull. He's got shooting room. Great save by Cheevers. 2-on-1. Shot. Great glove save by Cheevers. And he spears it out of midair to tie it up.
Ladies and gentlemen, Cheesy, Gerry Cheevers.
I hope I break even. I could use the money. Ladies and gentlemen, contributors to the Jimmy Fund, head table guests. It's an honor for me to be here tonight, and especially with these people up here, and hope I'm not speaking out of turn. One sports personality in Boston should be here tonight, was supposed to be here. His wife drove him in his brand new Oldsmobile and forgot the key to the trunk. It's really great to be finally standing side by side and looking Bobby in the eye. You know, I had to look at for 10 years playing goal, and it never winked, believe me. You know, talking about hockey for a minute, one of the top teams in the league this year is the Philadelphia Flyers, and that's just for a short time, but they have a young coach called Pat Quinn, who I believe is probably one of the best teachers in the game of hockey. He taught Bobby how to keep his head up one night. You know, we were staying at the Colonial in the playoffs that year, and I roomed with Bobby, and he was quite dazed, to say the least. It was a tremendous check, and he answered the phone 4 times that night, and it didn't ring. You know, I got to tell a story talking about hockey for a minute. The Bruins, I'll tell you, told me the story later, but the Bruins, you know, with all the scouting and the foreign players come in, they finally, and it wasn't publicized at all, finally come in with a Russian player. And the scouting reports were fantastic on him. He had all the credentials to be a great player, and they took him in for a physical, and he passed that great. They finally took him in for an eye test. And the doctor says, can you read this chart? He says, read it. He says, I know the guy. Bobby Orr, I've never met this night that Pat Quinn sort of leveled him. You know, we were sitting back in the room, and Bobby said to me, he says, you know, Jerry, he says, I got an awful lot to learn about the game. And I was trying to think of what I was going to say tonight, and I reflected back on this story, and I can remember him saying those words, I got an awful lot to learn. And I said, gee, if he's got an awful lot to learn, we're all in plenty of trouble. And I said, learn. I said, maybe I can just speak what I learned from Bobby Orr. I learned that we all can't be as great as Bobby Orr because it's impossible. But I learned the reason he's a great hockey player, his dedication to the game, his unselfishness, his way he wants to be a team player. His direction was always in the fact of winning a hockey game, not his personal goals. He taught me, and I know all the players that played with Bobby had the opportunity to play with him, have learned what a great team player he was. And I hope if I learned something from him, it's to be a halfway team player, and he certainly exemplified that in all walks of life. His unpublicized many visits to the Children's Hospital or to the youth banquets was just, it was uncalled for. His timeless hours there were fantastic, and no matter how we tried, we could never equal what Bobby Orr did. And I think that in itself was a great contribution to the city of Boston and the state of Mass, etc. But, you know, I look back and I say, I've played with Bobby Orr. My children know Bobby Orr, know how good he is. But I can hardly wait to tell my grandchildren that I played with the greatest hockey player of all time. Thank you.
I've known Jerry for about 10 or 12 years. The first time I've ever seen his face, I always thought those black lines were a childhood problem there, kid. And all of a sudden you look at Mike Andrews down here, Charlie Finley's favorite infielder. You know, the other night he and Marilyn would come over to the house for some dinner. He only had to make 2 turns from where he was coming from. Don't you know he blew one of them? Gary Doak holds the NHL record for most goals scored by a defenseman against his own goalie. Rico, you have not escaped. Rico Petrocelli, one of the nicest, sweetest guys you ever want to meet. Has the biggest collection of baseball cards in Boston. Of course, every one of them was a number 6. But he's got a goal. His goal is to grow up and be like Cliff and Clef. We've got another surprise guest for you, another curtain caller. One of the best. The 2 most devastating pitchers I have ever seen in my career. The 2 best. If there was a game on the line where my life was on the line, I'd have one of these 2 guys pitch it for it. First one would have been Catfish Hunter, and the next one, roll the cartridge, please. 1975 World Series against the Cincinnati Reds. Our man from Havana, Louie Louie. 1968 set the all-time American League ER record with Cleveland, 1.60. Watch Louie's adeptness on the base paths. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the great guys of our time, Mr. Louis T.I. Got a very droll fella coming up for you now. Fellow's very big, prominent, political circles here in Commonwealth. Political satirist from WBZ Channel 4, Mr. Dick Flavin.
Thank you, Hawk. What a terrific night this is, huh? Isn't this fabulous? And how about our master of ceremonies? I think he's done a terrific job. And not only is Ken Harrelson a great talent, you know, he's a wonderful, wonderful guy. We were talking up here a little earlier, and he gave me a terrific deal on some Nehru suits. Wonderful. Cashman bought a couple of them. Well, as I look up and down this head table, it's easy to see that the flower of the Boston sports world is here. Maybe an occasional weed here and there. Perhaps even a pansy or 2, you never can tell. And Bobby, Governor King had hoped to be here tonight, but he found out there was no lobster on the menu. I don't know if you've been reading about that. I'll fill you in on the details.
This is a ballad about lobster salad, which is very tasty to munch. But the cost of it's high, it's expensive to buy. So should Ed King have it for lunch? The question's been raised within recent days, do the taxpayers get a good deal if Ed's busy at work and summons a clerk to have Deanies deliver a meal? And when he works late at night and it's time for a bite, is it a terrible trait to eat Jimmy's food, or maybe stop at Pier 4 and charge the whole thing to the state? That's Ed's style, you know. It's the best way to go. And it's also worthy of note that while visiting lots of our best eating spots, Ed has captured the maitre d' vote. But Ed has denounced those newspaper accounts. Though he loves New England seafood, he proclaims even louder that he usually has chowder, or some fish if he's in the right mood. Reports of lobster and shrimp are blown up like a blimp, and Ed insists that they're phony. But whoever is right in the great seafood fight, it tastes to me like bologna. Pace yourselves, I'm not through yet. And I've been looking around for the mayor. You were with the mayor and this, you know, Kevin the Bold. He was so excited when he won that election last week, and he was driving his car up and down Beacon Street, down past Government Center, and just to work off some steam, and he was exceeding the speed limit. Well, a policeman didn't realize who was behind the wheel. He pulled him over. He walked over to the car and he said, "Where's the fire, buddy?" And the mayor rolls down the window, sticks out his head. He said, "Do you know who you're talking to?" The cop takes a look. He says, "Oh, my God." Kevin says, "Close." And I'm a little surprised that Orr showed up. I don't see his driver around here. Where is Bob Crane, anyhow? He's a great guy, Crane. The world's oldest teenager. The only man in America with more teeth than Jimmy Carter. In the old days, every time Orr scored a goal, Crane grew a new tooth. This is a great occasion, and I composed a little poem in honor of this occasion, which I'm going to subject you to whether you like it or not. 'Twas a brisk late autumn evening, and a goodly crowd was there, which well nigh filled the ballroom up the street from Copley Square. They had gathered for good reason, and it's no mystery, it was a tribute to the best damn man in hockey history. He played defense for Boston, and he wore the number 4, and no one who ever saw him play will forget the name of Orr. He could pass and shoot and give and go and skate just like the breeze. He was hockey's $1 million man who had the 10-cent knees. Then some people came upon the scene who did not understand how much we all loved Bobby Orr in this historic land. There was talk about Chicago, and at first we all just laughed. And then one day we learned he was gone, and we had got the shaft. But tonight he's back among us to benefit the Jimmy Fund. And here's our chance to tell the world that number 4 is number 1. God bless Bobby Orr.
Hi, I'm Bobby Orr. I'd like you to meet Colleen and Michael. They're patients of the Sidney Farber Cancer Institute's Jimmy Fund Clinic in Boston. The Jimmy Fund began 32 years ago when thousands of people joined together to help a sick boy and other youngsters like him by supporting cancer research and the care of children with cancer. Thanks to that support, the Sidney Farber Cancer Institute has become a leading comprehensive cancer center, searching for answers and caring for people, adults as well as children, and always with your help. Yes, we scored a lot of goals for kids like Colleen and Michael, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Your gift to the Farber Institute's Jimmy Fund will be used for cancer research and the care of children with cancer. Won't you please help? Let's keep working together to beat cancer in our lifetime. Please send your tax-deductible contributions to the Jimmy Fund, Post Office Box 700, Boston 02215. That's the Jimmy Fund, Post Office Box 700, Boston 02215. Thank you so much.
Bobby, we have a message for you from the fans of New England. If you'll watch the stage, please.
Everyone's his fan. He was hockey's greatest defense man. Next to him on a pair of skates, others just didn't rate. As he went whizzing by, the kid was sure to stupefy number 4. We're gathered here to show you it's you we adore. We don't have to think twice, 'cause on or off the ice, we all love you, Bobby Orr. We don't have to think twice, 'cause on or off the ice, we all love you, Bobby Orr.
Well, up in Parry Sound, they say Bobby Orr learned to skate before he could walk. His family encouraged him to pursue his first love, and if it weren't for them, we probably would not be here tonight to honor the greatest player who ever put on a pair of skates. In addition to teaching Bobby to be a fine athlete, they taught him to be a fine and compassionate human being. Bobby's dad was like a brother to him, and his mom provided all the encouragement Bobby ever needed. You know, we just couldn't have held this event tonight without Bobby's mom and dad. Ladies and gentlemen, straight from Parry Sound, Mr. and Mrs. Gordon Orr. This salute to Bobby Orr was made possible through the efforts of the Jimmy Fund Advisory Council. The Jimmy Fund Advisory Council is made up of a group of hard-working individuals who volunteer their time and expertise unselfishly to help financially assist the Jimmy Fund of the Sidney Farber Cancer Institute. Heading up this group is Mr. James R. Nitwig, field president of the John Hancock Insurance Company. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium the president of the Jimmy Fund Advisory Council, Mr. James Nitwig.
Thank you, Hawk. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for your wonderful support of the Jimmy Fund, as evidenced here this evening. As president of the Advisory Council, I join with the Jimmy Fund and distribute on behalf of Bobby, and I like to say on behalf of the entire council, thanks, Bobby, for making this event possible. A special thank you to those who gave so much to make this event a success. To Larry Buck McKinnon as chairman of the event, Mike Andrews, a tireless worker, Tony Merlino, the moving force in coordinating the ticket sales, all gave many weeks, days, and hours of their time. Fellow members of the Advisory Council, the Variety Club, WSBK TV Channel 38, Anheuser-Busch, E.F. Hutton, and lest we forget all the volunteers who gave unselfishly of their time. And now to cap up all these efforts, it is my pleasure to present to Ken Coleman, the director of the Jimmy Fund, 2 checks, one from the audience here tonight and the other from TV Channel 38. We hope these contributions will in some way move us towards our goal of eliminating cancer. Ken?
Thank you so much, Jim. Monsignor Kerr, distinguished guests at the head table, and ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is truly a wonderful evening for the Jimmy Fund, and we're grateful to all of you for being here tonight. I'd like to thank Channel 38 for their check, and I think it's interesting, and I hope that Stu doesn't mind my mentioning the sponsors. And it's rather ironic in a way. The sponsors are interesting in the sense of their advertising messages, because one of the two sponsors making this television program possible is Budweiser. And what they say is, when you say Budweiser, you've said it all. And the other one is E.F. Hutton. And E.F. Hutton says, oh, well, maybe you haven't caught that spot. I don't know. You can get that one out. Whatever. But in addition to what they're doing, what Channel 38 does by televising this event so that we can tell the story of the Jimmy Fund, we're also grateful to Channel 38 and their television network and to radio station WITS and their radio network for the announcements that are made possible throughout the summer on the Boston radio network, the Boston Red Sox radio network. Of course, the one gentleman who I'm not sure if he's here tonight, I've been looking for him and I have not seen him, and I was told he was here, is the son of Lou Perini, who has carried on the tradition of the Perini family. And I've been looking around. I haven't been able to spot him. Is David Perini here? Hey, David, there you are. Excuse me. Right there. Nice to see you, David. The Perini family meant so much, and of course, the Red Sox have carried it on. Tom Yawkey, Haywood Sullivan, and Buddy Lou would be very proud of what is happening here this evening. So we thank you so much for being here tonight and being part of this wonderful program. And personally, if I may, I came back to Boston from Cleveland in 1966, and I came here, therefore, the same year that this man came here, and I saw him play his first game at the Boston Garden. I hope that I never lose. This coming season will be my 25th year of covering Major League Baseball, and I'm still a fan, and I still have my heroes, and I'll tell you that one of them is the man that we're honoring here tonight. I've loved watching him play hockey. I appreciate what he has done for us tonight with the Jimmy Fund, and we salute you, Bobby Orr.
Thank you, Ken Coleman. In just a second, we're going to introduce Bobby Orr, the man we all came to honor. But before we do, we've got a tape. We all know that number 4 for the Boston Bruins was the greatest player in the history of the game. He possessed all the skills, and he blended them perfectly. Perhaps his greatest asset was the ability to skate. Before his dad ever let him pick up a stick, he taught him to skate like the wind, to move on blades as no other man had ever moved before. To show you what we mean, we have a piece of tape, so watch the monitors, and you'll see poetry in motion.
Selected first team defense, Bobby Orr.
Without being knocked down, and even that's not easy,
Well, Bobby also had the scoring knack. He set an all-time NHL record for goals by a defenseman. When he got his stick on the puck, he was dangerous. Watch the monitors once more, and you'll see what we're talking about.
There's Keon. right out in front, and it goes between Cheevers' pads. Orr, down on the ice, couldn't believe it. Watch it again, and you'll see what I mean. There's Keon. As Spear goes with him, out front, Bobby tried to clear it and went right between Gerry's pads, between his skates, into the net.
He has also a weakness as well. I'm talking about Cheevers, not Orr. We'll get serious a little bit right now, and we'll show you a real tape of Bobby Orr.
The Jimmy Fund began 32 years ago when thousands of people joined together to help a sick boy and other youngsters like him by supporting cancer research and the care of children with cancer. Hi, I'm Bobby Orr. I'd like you to meet Colleen and Michael. They're patients of the Dana Farber Cancer Institute's Jimmy Fund Clinic in Boston. Over the years, the Dana Farber Cancer Institute has become a leading comprehensive cancer center, searching for answers and caring for people, adults as well as children, and always with your help. Yes, we've scored a lot of goals for kids like Colleen and Michael, but there's still a lot of work to be done. Your gift to the Farber Institute's Jimmy Fund will be used for cancer research and the care of children with cancer. Won't you please help? Let's keep working together to beat cancer in our lifetime. Please send your tax-deductible contributions to the Jimmy Fund, Post Office Box 700, Boston 02215. That's the Jimmy Fund, Post Office Box 700, Boston 02215. Thanks so much.
Right now, Bobby Orr.
Thank you very much. In your care, Mom and Dad, Hawk, at table guests, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I'd like to report that I have been invited up to the governor's office tomorrow for lobster. Before coming here tonight, I was in Kevin White's office having my makeup put on. Dick, I'll leave you alone. I don't want you to be upset with me. But I've been around Boston the last few days, and we really don't get that much news on the Boston sports scene where I live. So I've been here about 10 days, and I've been reading a lot about your sports teams, and there's been some big happenings, a lot of news, and first of all, the Celtics, they're going very well, thanks to the Bird and John Y. Brown's rebuilding program. And Freddie Creighton, as the Bruins straightened out, he's got them playing very well in the third period. Now he doesn't know what to do with the first and second. Of course, the Pats don't like playing in the snow. And of course, the big news is that Yaz has a new pair of shoes. But I'm often asked, or I have been asked, well, the last little while since I started saying I was moving back here to Boston, why I wanted to be back here in Boston. Well, the reason I want to live in Boston, I want my family brought up in Boston, is I feel that Boston is the greatest city in the world. Playing in Boston on a winning team, I've known the pride that comes with finishing first and winning a championship. And I've also known the frustrations that come with finishing second. But most of all, I've known the joy of caring that comes from being one of you. The care you have for your community and for others is perhaps most visible on the playing field or in the stands. The support you give your players and teams is well known everywhere, and everywhere you go, you're asked what's it like to play in Boston, and I don't think it matters which league you're playing in or which sport you're playing. You're always asked what's it like playing in Boston, and everyone wants to play here. So you're well known everywhere. But the arena where your support and your caring is most important to me, and I'm sure to most of the athletes. And I'm talking about the arena of human compassion. I'm very proud to be able to say that I'm moving back here, and proud that I'm going to be able, hopefully, call myself a Bostonian. Not only because you're great hockey fans, sports fans, baseball fans. I'm proud to call myself a Bostonian because you're just a great group of people. For more than 30 years, the Jimmy Fund has been waging the battle against cancer in children, and you have been helping the Jimmy Fund make that fight with your time. It takes a lot of time. With your energies, you have to work very hard. Of course, with your resources, for just as many years as the Jimmy Fund has been operating. I've been to the hospitals and I've seen those kids, and for those of you that have been there, sometimes it's so sad you just want to get out and cry. But I've also seen some kids that through the Jimmy Fund that have been helped, and the gains that the Jimmy Fund has made or helped to make it's just been incredible. The work with the Jimmy Fund begun and carried on by Jim Britt, and I'm sorry I did not know these gentlemen, but I have heard so much about them. But the work carried on by Jim Britt, by Bill Coster, by Dr. Sidney Farber, and many others continues today. It's people like this group and many others, have accepted the challenge, and the fight goes on. You see young lives being prolonged, and you've got to be happy about that. Many young lives are being saved. We really have not won the fight yet. Still a long way to go. We've still got a lot of work to do. But I believe, and I'm sure you believe, that we're getting closer. Things are getting better, and it's happening because you people care. And in closing, I would like to thank everyone for coming tonight and wish the Pats, Bruins, Sox, Celtics, the T-men, all the amateur organizations good luck. And most important, I'd like to wish continued good luck, I think, to the strongest, the best team of all, that being the Jimmy Fund Foundation. Thank you. You're a great town, Boston. Thank you very much.
This special TV-38 presentation was brought to you by Anheuser-Busch, makers of Busch Beer, and by E.F. Hutton. When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen. This is Dana Hersey. Good evening. TV-38 and the Jimmy Fund would like to pay special thanks to Joe Poley, whose hard work made this show possible.
Misty watercolor memories of the way we were. Scattered pictures of the smiles we left behind, smiles we gave to one another.